Good morning from Uncle Bob, Fly Fishing Mythbusters. Hey, I wanted to do a video about this book and how important this book was to me. And as you can see in the title, right, it's about soft hackles, and I've tied one here. And it's a simple tie. The hackle you use is not very fancy, not dry fly hackle. It's more like this. I can't say that this is Hungarian partridge because I don't keep track of that kind of stuff, but this is a great feather for tying the partridge and orange. And this is like orange silk thread. So this is as traditional as I can get. I put a little green dubbing ball in there so you can see it. That ball helps you to keep the hackle from flattening out when you tie it. It helps it flare. All right. I won't do fly tying videos. Too many people have better video equipment and are better tires. But this is a soft hackle. And what you do with a soft hackle is not in the title, but it's what we refer to as the method is swinging. And I'm going to tell you why swinging, and this came out in 1974, and Syl, I'll call him Syl, I know his friends did, I never met him. Syl was a myth buster. And the myth that he busted, right, is that you fish upstream and you fish in water that's smooth enough that you can fish a dry fly. And when this book came out, it revolutionized fishing, and I think it's been lost. I'm not sure. When I did a search of YouTube videos on soft hackles, I'd say 90% about how to tie them. That's fine. The other, 3 or 4, I saw guys using a two-handed spade rod to swing. I didn't really find a video that covered how Sylvester Syl told you how to do it. And so you fish downstream, you don't mend, and you feel the hit, and the hit is extremely hard. And the reason it's hard is twofold. One is, well, the fishes that you hook are going to be downstream of you, so the water's working against you. And the other is how trout hit this fly. They slam it. And because of that, you cannot fish your 5X, 4X, any of that. They'll just snap you right off. You have to get a much stouter, shorter leader. And since there's no point in having a tapered leader, when I swing, I put on, an 8-foot section of 8-pound test, at least 8, because of how hard the fish will hit this fly. And the really surprising thing, the thing that almost shocked me is, you want to present the fly naturally, you want drag-free drift, all this stuff. No, not with swinging. Swinging is when you cast downstream, quarter downstream, and as your fly line, which gets ahead of your fly, right, swings directly in front of you, and your leader follows, that's when the fish hit. Almost directly downstream of you. You'll get hits on the side, but you probably won't get many hits until that fly line is really swinging. Maybe you get some at like a 45-degree downstream angle, and then till it straightens up. And of course, once it's straight, you can do the lessing ring lift before in other words, a slow lift. And it just doesn't make sense that a fly that basically just stops in fast water and goes straight up would fool trout, but it does. I can't explain it. There's something about the movement of that fly and maybe the appearance of that fly. So, some people call this a spider, right? But it doesn't look anything like this in fast water. It's kind of an enveloped looking thing, right? That has these fluttering feathers and it's going up like this, and it probably looks like, caddis rising. I would think more than mayflies because caddis tend to be aggressive risers. Anyway, it catches lots of fish. But you can only really fish it, right, in what's called a riffle or a run. And that's usually water that's a couple of feet deep and fast moving, not dry fly water, not nymph and indicator water, because, the distance between your indicator and your fly is usually a few feet. It just won't work in those conditions. But if you like to wade, but not wade just deep, and if you like to cast, swinging is a great method. I came to find it because it solved a certain problem for me. I fished with a buddy for years and years and years, and he was not an aggressive wader. He was a timid wader. He almost always wanted to dry fly fish, right? And he wasn't a particularly good caster either. And so if we hit the river and we both wanted to fish upstream, which I think 90% of fishermen, fly fishermen, they want to fish upstream. And they want to fish in pools. And so if you come to a crowded river and you look up and down and you got this cluster of guys in softer water, well, are you going to crowd your way in there? And I just never wanted to do that. I always gave other fishermen as much space as I possibly could. I didn't want to feel like I was poaching on their water by walking past them upstream when they were fishing upstream. That was just a situation I didn't want to go to. With my buddy, right, who fished slow and close to the bank, if I shot past him, he would spend the rest of the day fishing water that I had already been in. And I didn't like that situation either. So what swinging lets you do is fish downstream and fish water that is shallow and fast. And so I don't think any of the YouTube videos do justice to the book. You'll see a lot of people tying soft hackles. You'll see a few guys fishing them in situations that are not described in the book. And so I'll just quickly describe the method as laid out by Syl Nemes. You find a riffle. Chances are nobody's in that run or riffle. They're down in the pool somewhere. You wade out into the middle of that riffle. You cast quarter downstream and keep your rod tip low, and you just let your fly line swing. When it's straight down from you, right, it's easy to cast either just backhanded, right, which I prefer to do, even though that's a little far back for traditional, or you pick it up and you cast to the other side. You let it swing. You do that 3 times. You can vary the length of the line you have out so you can cover essentially a cross section of the river in front of you. And when you've covered that, right, you take 2 or 3 steps down and you do it again. And then 2 or 3 steps. So you can find a run that's maybe, 100 feet long, and you will cast into that, let's see, 3 on this side, 3 on this side, move a yard, 3 on, you have plenty of water to cover. Now, the other advantage to fast water is it's highly oxygenated. So there are a lot of bugs, right, that prefer that water, especially the deep pools. And so there's a higher concentration of bugs because it's oxygenated. And so even though you think that a fish is going to spend the least amount of effort, right, for their food, trout will go into those riffles, even though they're this deep in fast water, get behind a big rock and wait for these emergers, right, to come out of the rocks in the riffle. So I won't say it's a go-to method in the sense that I would not start that way, But I used to come down to a river with my buddy, and we'd have to make a decision who was going upstream and who was going downstream. And if I saw lots of riffles, I said, no problem, buddy, you go upstream. I'm going to go swing down here. There were a lot more situations than you'd think where that was true in the waters that we fished. There are some rivers that I've seen that the only thing I would do is swing because of the speed of the water and the depth. And they didn't have a lot of pools. So I don't think anything on YouTube will do justice to this book. If you can find yourself a copy, believe me, having this method in your back pocket and these flies, right, can save a fishing trip. It's done it for me so many times. Syl Nemes, The Soft Hackled Fly, highly recommend it. It's not a big book, and it's really well written. He really defends and backs it up, right? His method, and it revolutionized fishing. He's in the Hall of Fame, right? So it must have worked out pretty good for the guys that tried it. I'll see you later. Bye-bye.